So your caliber consideration, your accuracy with your rifle, and your day optics reticle, those are all important and crucial factors for you to consider before you put any clip-on device in front of those systems and try to hit your target and hit it repeatedly downrange. All right, so before we get started with shooting with the Yoter-C Bering Optics 640 clip-on in front of my day optic, I'm going to need to zero any day optic, whether it's digital, the low power variable optic, or a long range scope. I'm going to need to attain zero with the day optic and the rifle system. So bear these points in mind, these considerations, if you're going to go with the clip-on system. Whatever your application is, I'll just use mine as an example because I'm familiar with it. Hog hunting, some limited coyote hunting, 250 yards and in. A day optic with a ballistic drop compensated reticle would be nice to have. I don't have a really good one, so then I'm looking at duplex style reticles, things of that nature, hunting scopes, if you will. Those of you who use those long range shooting scopes with the tree style, I mean, I don't know how to do all that stuff, but I'm sure it would have a particular application for longer range shooting using a thermal clip-on. So choose your day optic well for your purpose and your application. Along with that, if you're going to be shooting at extended ranges, choose your ammunition well and your caliber. This is 22 NXS, Nosler Extreme Speed. Caliber that's flat shooting and high velocity. This out of this 18-inch barrel is going to be traveling 35-75 feet per second. So my drop at distance hopefully is going to be less in comparison if I was using my short-barreled 308, shooting a 170 grain bullet. You know, I have an awful lot of drop past 200 yards that piles up pretty quickly. All right, for those of you still with me, appreciate it. We're probably well into the video at this point, and we haven't even got to a Yoter-C shot yet. But why am I going through the steps of showing you a totally different optic and zeroing it? It's because I'm attempting to relate to you, it is absolutely vital that you get a dead nuts 100 yard, 150 yard, whatever you zero at, that it is absolutely spot on in the day optic sense before you go to the thermal. It is a misconception to think that you can just apply the thermal clip-on straight from the factory in front of a day optic and it hit in the same place that you're aiming through the day optic. There is going to be some shift. That shift is due to a number of factors. The day scope, its scope mount, how it affixes in terms of angles and forces, and your receiver rail to your handguard rail, those forces. All these forces are acting upon the optics separately. So obviously I'm needing to make adjustments to my day scope because it is canted in some fashion from the barrel's fixed center line downrange. So I'm adjusting for that cant, for that offset. And again, don't just bore sight your day scope and then go straight into the thermal application. You will be able to get it zeroed with the thermal clip-on, but the minute you take that clip-on off, you're back to a bore sight on the day scope, and that could cause a miss. So take the time, do it right. I'm starting totally anew from the ground up with regard to digital optic. It's at 00XY, meaning that's your zeroing coordinates, so it's a fresh factory reset on the digital optic, bagged front and back. And so pretty soon here I'll activate recording on the day scope, and I'll take 2 shots at 50 yards to see where the day optic is impacting at a 0-0 setting. And then off camera I'll have to make reticle adjustments. The digital optic does not record menu selections and features, so I can't show you that. But once I'm pretty close at 50, then we'll bump it down to 100 and get zeroed at 100. So I am now going to activate recording through the day optic. It is at 4K 30 frames per second resolution. I've got digital zoom right there. I'm at 2 times. The native magnification is 3 times of this digital optic, so I'm theoretically at 6 times magnification here. Range is hot. All right, it appears as though that shot impacted low. 1, 2, 3 inches low, 1 inch right. Let me take one more to verify. 2 times digital zoom. Yep, there's 2 holes there. Okay, so I'll adjust my zero and put a target at 100 yards. All right, here we are looking at 100 yards. 2 times zoom, 3 times zoom, 4 times zoom. I'm going to go to 6. So 6 by 3 is a theoretical 18 times magnification. I'm going to focus. Again, this is 4K 30 frames per second, so you can see I get a nice clear crisp image downrange. I'm going to charge the rifle and take your time with it and get a good day zero. So 100 yards, 55 grain Nosler E-tip 22 NXS. Alright, we're pretty close to bullseye down at 100. This gun's giving me about 1 1/4 MOA at 100 with this ammunition this time of year. The load was developed in summer, I'm in winter. So it's as dialed in and fine-tuned as I'm going to be able to get it on the day optic. It's now time to adapt the Yoter-C Bering Optics 640 thermal clip-on to the rifle system. Again, I've got a light suppressor here in the rail mount, so I'm going to lightly compress the light suppressor and then catch a rail. That looks good there. Push it forward and then lock it back. So the very next image you'll see in this video today is going to be recorded through the digital optic looking to the back screen of the Yoter-C, and it's going to give you a very fair illustration of what you might expect to see when you adapt your daytime optic to the back of a thermal clip-on. Alright, so I'll go down range. I'll go ahead and post a hot hands down there so we have something to aim at. And just so you know, the XY is now 6X minus 13Y on this digital scope. What that equates to is I had to make adjustments to get the day scope zeroed to this rifle. That for you will relate to mechanical turret adjustments on elevation and windage. So I've made adjustments, it's zeroed. Now it's time to shoot it once or twice with the Yoter-C on, see where my points of impact are occurring, mark those areas, and adjust the Yoter-C to that new point of impact so that we co-align 2 systems to get a unified zero. All right, here we are. I forgot we probably should start at 50 yards instead of 100. So I'm looking at a steel silhouette target at 50 yards. I will just aim center of mass, and depending on where the impact is, I'll make my first adjustment to the Yoter-C's zeroing menu. But since I've got you here at 50 yards, real quick image run through. So I have brightness adjustment on the Yoter-C. This is the low, second, third, and highest setting. I'll go for third. And then I have color palettes, that being rainbow, insta alert, red alert, black hot, and white hot. For me right now, black hot's giving the best image representation on my silhouette. Then I have sharpness. So this is going to be softest sharpness. second, third, and fourth highest. I think I'll start with the second level. And then of course we have digital zoom. This is at 50 yards. And there you have it. The Sightmark digital scope is at 1x digital magnification, which means it's at its native 3x optical magnification. So in theory we're at 3x right now. I'm going to charge the weapon. Range is hot, and we'll go with one shot at 50 yards. Alright, I'll need to go verify where that hit. I did hit. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm glad I started at 50 yards because while I was holding dead center here, my impact was almost a foot to the right and a little bit up. So had I done that at 100 yards, I would have been further off than a foot, maybe off the target board altogether. So these are critical aspects to zeroing any thermal optics, what I'm about to run through here. Essentially, the adjustments I make in scope have the opposite effect on target. So, on target, I need to come left with my point of impact and down. That means in scope, I'm going to adjust the reticle right and up. Now, it's key and crucial that you write down your X and your Y every time you make adjustments, because these scopes have a little bit of lag to them. In other words, we're button pushers and button mashers. So once you get to know the system real well, it's no biggie for you just to zoom through these and inadvertently, like I did right there, in accessing the zero menu, I also made a X axis change. And so you need to take your time in zeroing the Hogsters or the Yoter-C scopes. And so I am at 0, 0, X and Y. I would write that down right now. And I need to adjust right and up. So it shows you right and left is the direction, the orientation that we're going to adjust first. So because I have my coordinates written down, I can go ahead and freely maneuver here. And I'm just clicking away, and I can see that I'm moving left, the opposite direction I need to go. And that is relating to a 9.7 positive. So that was the down button. So I need to go back to 0 now that I know that the up button is what I need to use. And because I wrote that down, it'll be key later at 100 yards when we have X and Y values there, because we'll be trying to fine-tune zero settings, and if you're not sure if you're up or you're down button, this is how people get turned around. So I'm at 0, 0. I need to adjust to the right. So up button, up button, up button. And I'm leaving the rifle stationary. And I am adjusting only the reticle to near where I need to be, which is going to be about right there. Minus 48.6 centimeters. Okay, I'm going to hit the middle menu button one time, and now my orientation has switched to up and down. Same thing, I wrote down 0, 0. Let me do some quick presses. And it looks like that's up direction, which is good. Positive 17. So now I want to go back down to 0. Now that I know that the down button is the one I need to hit, and I'm going to get solid in the center. And now I'm going to make my adjustment. Right about there. Positive 21.8. Press and hold that middle button to lock those in. And then press and hold to get out of the 0 menu. And now we are ready to go to 100 yards. Alright, there's the target down at 100 yards. The 5, it looks like a dice 5 is a paper target, and then above, top dead center of that 5 is a solid white, and that is my hot hands. So image adjustment on color palette, that's rainbow, insta alert, that's black hot and white hot. Again, black hot's doing pretty good for me today. Some screen brightness adjustments. Right there's good. Now, this initial zeroing that you're doing, do it at the native magnification on the Yoter-C. And so that's no digital zoom on the Yoter-C. You got to get your thermal and your rifle co-aligned in a unified zero with no digital zoom on that clip-on. Right now I am on native magnification of 3 times on the digital optic. I'm going to need more. So that's 2 times. I think 3 times for a theoretical 9 times magnification will be good. And I want to take probably 2 shots, but I'm getting low on ammo. So let me just take 1. Alright, and go down and check where that hit. Alright, that initial transition from 50 to 100 yards using the 50-yard rough zero that we dialed in. Printed the bullet approximately 1.5 inches high at 100 yards. I'm not at all dissatisfied with that zero, but for the sake of the upcoming test of digital zoom progression shots, I do want to be dead on just as my day scope is. So I need to come down about 2 inches. I'll go and I'll make an adjustment in scope. Since I need to come down on target, that is going to be adjustments up in the scope. If I were further away than I am, I would use another hot hands and put it wherever the bullet impacted, and then I would be able to better see that at the bench and make an adjustment. But since I'm pretty much dead on windage and it's just an elevation adjustment, I'll adjust up. Now I'm going to do 4. I'm going to adjust up 4 values and see what that gives me. And if it goes too low, let's say an adjustment of 4 values hits here, then I'll know coming back 1 value would probably be in this vicinity and I would call it good. If 4 values takes it here, I would come back 2 values and call it good. So I make a gross over adjustment because I'm trying to rule out shooter error or shooter induced error, ammo induced spread. So if you make a gross over adjustment, you get a better chance instead of chasing the bullet, which happens often with thermal optics and digital optics. So I'll adjust 4 back at the bench. I'll take another shot. We'll see where we are, and then we'll make a final adjustment and call it good. All right, we're back from verifying that first point of impact at 100. It's about 1.5 inches high. I will enter the zero menu, which is this icon here. Slowly, I will write down minus 48.6 y plus 21.8, because if I inadvertently were to hit a correction here, I'm on the wrong axis. So you enter slowly into these zero menus, you write down what it is before you make any changes, and then you start pushing buttons again. If you rush through this, you'll inevitably get input errors and you'll get a frustrating day of zeroing a scope. Alright, I'm going to push the middle button once to change my orientation to up or down. I need to come up 4 values. I forgot which button does up, so I need to make a gross over correction here. My Y value is what's going to change on up and down. So let me press down a few clicks. Yep, that's doing it. So I go back to what I had wrote down, 21.8. And now I hold the rifle as still as possible, and I'm going to do 4 input correction, 4 value correction. And that's the down button. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I'm at plus 31.6. Middle button hold to enter. Middle button to cancel that menu. 3 times on the digital optic. 1 shot. Okay, safe. All right, that 4 value correction actually wasn't that far off. It's a shade low of my center of bullseye where I was holding here. It's just a tick low. So I want to go ahead and come back 1 value and then call it good. The spread or difference between these two is about a 1/2 inch, which is consistent with my group size. My group size at 100 is usually 1.25 inches. So I'm not going to worry about windage. I'm going to take 1 value back of that 4 that I made, and I'll consider the Yoter-C and the digital optic as unified in 0. Alright, final adjustment on the Yoter-C's zeroing function at 100 yards. Being very careful not to make any inputs to inadvertently change the wrong axis of adjustment. Writing down minus 48.6 plus 31.6. Now hitting the middle menu button to go to the correct axis and making 1 correction down to bring that bullet impact up. So I'm now at plus 29.1 centimeters holding, and now it is input to the scope.